Curious how the current real estate market is post-COVID-19? Stay tuned and listen to my interview with Jim Wolfe, Realtor from Coldwell Banker Weir Manuel. Hi everyone, welcome back to First Securities Mortgage Mondays. I'm Tom Oslin, Director of Business Development, and I'm here today with Jim Wolfe, professional realtor from Coldwell Banker Weir Manuel, who happens to have over 30 years experience in the real estate industry. Jim's going to share his wisdom and insight on the current real estate market during the COVID-19 pandemic. Jim, welcome.
Thank you.
We're excited to have you here and spend some time with you today learning about what's happening in the current real estate market. I know the general public is very curious what's going on out there, so let's jump right in. First of all, how is the market these days on the moderate priced homes up to that $500,000 price range, which seems to be that sweet spot for a lot of people?
Well, Tom, the market is actually surprisingly good. Prior to the stay-at-home orders in mid-March, the real estate market was very, very strong. And then we basically had to shut down for 2 months. We sold a few houses during that time, showing them virtually, but after we opened up, there was a lot of pent-up demand. See, that's normally our busy spring market.
Right.
So we have all those clients that would have been buying normally in April and May, and then we have the people that are normally buying now.
Got it.
So there's a lot of buyers out there, and truthfully, not a lot of inventory.
Got it. Well, that being said, it brings me to my next question. So with not being a lot of inventory and there's a lot of buyers out there and offers, are you running into multiple offer situations out there? And if you are, what can you do to help improve your buyer's odds?
So if the house is priced well and it shows well, chances are we're going to have multiple offers. So the number one thing is the buyer has to have a very, very strong pre-approval letter. Also, it's good if it's from a local lender like First Securities Mortgage.
Sure.
And it's good if we do not have to ask for seller concessions in terms of closing costs.
Okay.
So I always see if my buyers can maybe explore and see if they can borrow money from family so we don't have to ask the seller for seller concessions.
Got it.
Because in a competitive situation, chances are there's going to be someone that does not have to ask for those concessions.
Okay.
It is not always about the highest price that gets the offer accepted.
Sure.
There's lots of things that we can do to make the offer more attractive to the seller without having to increase the price.
Okay.
We can maybe offer them some free occupancy afterwards. We can maybe offer some sort of appraisal guarantee.
Oh, yeah.
But those are all things that I guide my clients with so that in most cases we get their offers accepted over others.
Nice. Now you mentioned seller concessions a few times during there. What is the maximum amount people can ask for as seller concessions these days?
It depends on the mortgage program, but generally speaking, a seller can pay up to 6% of the sale price towards a buyer's mortgage.
Okay.
So let's say the house is selling for $200,000. Sometimes we see a buyer offering $210,000 and asking for $10,000 in seller concessions.
Got it.
And so the buyer feels like, hey, I'm still offering them $200,000, but in 9 times out of 10, that seller is going to go to the offer that's offering $200,000 without the concessions rather than $210,000 with the concessions.
Got it. That's good to know. That's really good to know. Now, with all the recent changes on how we do business on a day-to-day basis from the COVID-19 that we're dealing with right now, what are realtors like yourself doing to maintain and uphold the CDC rules and processes? And, what's it like out there showing homes now?
At first I thought it was going to be very uncomfortable, but it really isn't. I mean, we're being very, very careful. The realtors are not scheduling more than one realtor and his clients to come through at the same time.
Okay.
So we're making like a 30-minute appointment for ourselves. We're all wearing masks. The sellers are generally not in the home.
Okay.
They leave all the lights on. We're able to walk through the home. We try not to touch anything. This is not the time to bring your 5 kids, your in-laws, and your cousin who's an expert at looking at houses.
Sure.
We want to limit the number of people that are coming through the house.
That's good to know.
We ask the client to meet us there. We're not putting them in our car and driving to the homes together. So if we're showing a few houses, I give them an itinerary of what we're looking at, and they drive in their own car and they follow me.
That's great. I mean, because now they're prepared. So when they show up at the home, there's no surprises. So, what would your recommendation be? Because this is all great information that you've shared with us today. But for a first-time home buyer or somebody that's even a move-up buyer, what's your recommendation for somebody looking to buy right now?
Like I mentioned before, we want the client to get their ducks in a row. We want them to get a strong pre-approval letter, preferably from a local lender like First Securities Mortgage.
There you go.
We'd like for them to verify their assets, their employment, their credit. We like for that all to be in the pre-approval letter.
Sure.
I want the buyer to do a little bit of their homework. I want them to drive by areas that they might be interested in. This is a competitive market, so this is not most people do not have the opportunity to look at a house, come back a week later and look at it again. You need to know when you like a house. So I try to get people to look at a few houses right at the get-go so that when we find one that they really like, they know it.
Sure. Well, Jim, you've been a wealth of knowledge to our consumers today, and we thank you very much for being part of First Securities Mortgage Mondays. That's it for today's episode of Mortgage Mondays. Stay tuned next week for more mortgage tips. I'm Tom Osland, First Securities Mortgage, your lender for life.